systems, osteons. Remember last week? Which seems like 100,000 years ago now, but you remember it? Yeah. So when you do endochondral ossification, are you making the spongy bone first, like intermembranous? No, you're making the compact bone first. You're making a compact bone collar first, with the inside of the bone still hyaline cartilage. Because the blood vessels have gotten into the perichondrium, into the connective tissue on the outside where the collar is at, and then you start forming bone around those blood vessels.
That way it's endochondral.
Yes, that's why I say inside the cartilage you're forming bone. But it's the cartilage of the outside of the bone first. So it's the collar that's forming first instead of the deep inside of the bone, where there's cartilage also. Did you guys got this? Can I go to the next slide? Okay, now, look at this. It's just part of it. Watch. You start in the diaphysis, the middle. You get blood vessels to penetrate. Do they go all the way in or just into the collar area? And then you take, in that collar area, you take these osteoprogenitor cells, which are really just stem cells, and they turn into osteoblasts. They start forming compact bone. Do you see how that's starting to look like a bone right there? But only in the collar. You start in the middle, you start working your way towards the epiphyses. You understand? Forming a bone collar, a collar of bone. What's it like inside there still? It's cartilage. Now it starts to get calcium in there, so you say, oh, it's calcified cartilage, but it's still cartilage. Do you understand? All right. This gets interesting because now let's finish the story, because we've got this little collar of cartilage there. Okay? That's produced first, the collar of the bone. The outside hyaline cartilage has been turned, the cartilage has been turned into bone. So you're forming compact bone. Then the chondrocytes that are deep inside. Remember, do you still have cartilage in the spongy bone area, the future spongy bone area? Yes? Okay, the chondrocytes that are deep inside the bone enlarge and then die. And get reabsorbed by the body, leaving empty lacuna. Wouldn't they leave empty lacuna? Yeah, they enlarge and then die. This is inside, deep inside the bone. You've already formed a bone collar. Blood vessels will then grow from that bone collar into that cartilage area, carrying with them osteoblasts and osteoclasts. As the osteoblasts and osteoclasts are traveling with the blood vessels, and the blood vessels are growing deep inside the bone, do blood vessels penetrate into bone? Yes, remember we said that's direct blood supply. So as the blood vessels grow deeper into the bone, into the spongy bone area, they carry osteoblasts and osteoclasts with them. The osteoblasts and osteoclasts see the empty lacuna, and they're like, hey, that's a nice home. I think I want that home. They jump up and they occupy the empty lacuna left by the chondrocytes that died. Isn't that cool? So in some of the lacuna you have osteoblasts, in other lacuna you have osteoclasts that occupy these lacuna. Deep inside the bone. But it's still cartilage. The osteoblast will occupy the lacuna and start producing bone matrix. What type of matrix, now that you're deep inside the bone? Is it going to be rings, perversion systems, or is it going to be trabeculate, spongy bone? Spongy bone. And the osteoclast will remove areas of bone, creating bone marrow cavities. The osteoclast will remove areas of bone, creating bone marrow cavities, where you can make blood and store fat. Isn't this neat to kind of connect what the histology from last week to the actual formation this week? Yeah. Pretty cool. About 3.5 weeks it takes me in a regular semester to teach everything I just taught you in 1 week. Isn't that cool? We can do it. I was telling you last week, the great thing about a 5-week course is it's only 5 weeks. The really bad thing about a 5-week course is that it's only 5 weeks. So it's good and bad. It's a love-hate relationship. All right, you guys got it? Okay, now, look at this. Blood vessels penetrate, and you start forming spongy bone. Isn't that neat? Now you do it all the way till you get to the end. And when you get to the two ends, this is while you're still a fetus, when you get to the two ends, you keep a layer of cartilage right there and a layer of cartilage right there. This layer you keep for the rest of your life, hopefully. And that's the articular cartilage. This layer you keep until you're about 20 years old, and that's the epiphyseal plate that then turns into an epiphyseal line, and you no longer grow any taller. You're doing endochondral ossification to grow longer long bones your whole youth of your life until you're 20 years old. Then you stop, and you turn that epiphyseal plate into an epiphyseal bone. And this is under the influence of various hormones, which I'll teach you when I teach you the endocrine system, okay? Neat. That is endochondral ossification. You got it?
No.
Well, not yet. Yeah. No, he's honest. That's good. You'll never make a good politician. You have to be dishonest to be a politician. All of them. It doesn't matter which party. So you guys got it? All right. So this is a picture of it. So these are actual photographs of chondrocytes in their lacuna and then turning into bone. Isn't that cool? Here's an epiphyseal plate right there. Do you see that? So if you take an x-ray and you go, oh, I see the epiphyseal plate, that's an x-ray of an adult or a child? That's a child. Okay. What if they're in a football, injury, and they're still growing that plate, but they break it right across the plate? It stops the growth. Yeah. In high school, our middle linebacker for our football team, we had a pretty good football team at the high school, but the middle linebacker was like an all-star middle linebacker. He was amazing, really good. And he was like no neck, middle line, this huge guy. But he took steroids. We shouldn't have been doing that, especially at that age. But that's why he was so big. But he was an amazing middle linebacker. But he broke his femur. But he broke it right across the epiphyseal plate. And because he was taking roids also, it never healed properly. So about 10 years later, I saw him one time, because I was friends with him, and I was like, hey, how you doing and stuff? And he was short, like he never grew taller than high school. And I'm like, hey, what happened? And he goes, remember when I broke my femur? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, it broke that, that area that like it couldn't grow anymore. So he said they had to break the other one so it wouldn't grow longer.
Wow.
That's sad, huh? So he never played football after high school. That was it. After that injury, he's done. And he was like an all-American linebacker. Isn't that crazy? And then, of course, remodeling of long bones. Don't learn any of this. Okay? Just wanted to show you that you can does bone change shape. And you do this from the epiphyseal plates most of the time, okay? If you're young. So can you remodel bone quickly and easily and heal it up in that as a child? As an adult, is it a lot harder? Yeah, you just don't have those epiphyseal plates. That's it. That's it for the week. Woo! So you don't have to know these slides. Okay? Or this slide. Just the ones, endochondral and intermembranous ossification. Alright? Okay, so you guys got it? Okay, so what we're going to do for lab is just, this is perfect timing. We usually end about 11:20, so it's right 11:18. So for lab, we're just going to do what we've been doing all week, man. Just learn the bones, learn muscle, learn joints, learn whatever you can, okay? And try to stay around till about 1 o'clock would be great.